Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon and today I'm going to be giving my own second thought about Taxi Driver. Now if you haven't seen this movie yet, this is your spoiler warning. I'm going to be talking about the movie in its entirety, so I'm probably going to spoil a couple things. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead, pause the video, go watch the movie, come back, and we'll talk about it then. Actually reviewing this movie came from one of my subscribers. They asked me to talk about some of the older Scorsese films, but I hadn't actually seen the ones yet that they wanted me to talk about. Nothing against Scorsese, I just haven't seen all of his movies. I wasn't raised on his movies, and I hadn't started until Silence came out, and I watched that, and I didn't actually enjoy that movie, but we'll talk about that in a different video. Right now, I want to talk about Taxi Driver. Now, Taxi Driver is obviously considered one of the greatest movies of all time, mainly based on the idea of the movie rather than the execution of the film, but I'll get back to that in a little bit. What I want to first say is that this movie is predominantly great based on the context of the movie. If you don't understand when and where it came out, it is not nearly as good, and you might be disappointed if you haven't seen it yet and you're watching it for the first time. Why this movie is so good is when it came out 40, 50 years ago, and it's talking about something that is extremely relevant today. It's talking about how the media portrays heroes and villains in the spotlight. It gets to pick and choose who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. If you don't know about this movie yet, the main character, Robert DeNiro, is not a good guy. But he is made into the hero at the end of the film because some of the people he killed happen to be bad guys. And that's just where it ends. It leaves you on that because even though this guy is a psychopath, he's a stalker, he's a murderer, he's considered good because the media decided he was good. And that's extremely relevant. In today's current culture, we've got all of this background checks on celebrities and canceling celebrities because of a tweet they put out 20 years ago. But 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that wasn't a thing, obviously. People that were just good guys in the media's eyes were good, and it was left that way. Now today we're starting to do background checks on people and, figuring out who's really a good person or not, but it wasn't a thing yet. This movie was way ahead of its time in the way that it talked about that. I can't think of any other movies in mainstream American film that were like that. So if you don't understand what it's trying to say with the movie, then you might just be kind of frustrated or mad that this bad guy is being portrayed as a hero, and how did he get away with all this? Well, that's the point. The movie's supposed to frustrate you. The movie's supposed to make you think and be mad about this situation because it was something that was extremely relevant. These horrible people are being portrayed as heroes just because of one thing that they did, which may not have even really been good to begin with. Is one bad guy killing another bad guy a good thing? Kind of, but who are we to decide that that person's a hero? Now, getting back to what I said about this movie not being perfect. The acting's not always great, and the writing is a little bit boring at times, and the whole thing feels a little bit too drawn out. But like I said, the idea of this movie is so great that it's good enough to cover over a lot of those imperfections. Now, do I think that the movie's overrated? Yeah, kind of, honestly, but that doesn't mean the movie's not really good. The problem is that a lot of movies are considered great because the idea of the movie, not necessarily the execution of the movie. That's not always the case, but that happens a lot of the time. I brought up in Fight Club that it doesn't hold up in the way that the movie is portrayed, but the idea behind the movie is still great. So even though the execution of it's only okay, that movie's still considered one of the greatest of all time. But luckily, the ideas are more important than the film most of the time. Does that excuse a filmmaker from making a bad movie? No, but Scorsese didn't make a bad movie. He made a pretty good movie with a great point. And that's why I'm caught in the middle on this, is that I enjoy the idea, don't love the movie. I know I'm in the minority on that. I know it's a kind of unpopular opinion, but I think the movie's still really good. I just don't think it's great. And really, that's honestly all I have to say about it. I think that the idea is great and the movie's just pretty good. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It does help me out a lot, guys. Thanks. Bye.